Hello everyone and welcome to my review for Kengan Omega Chapter 98. Before I get into this week's review, I of course have to plug my subscriber goal for 2021, hitting 5,000 by the end of the year, and another announcement, in case some of you don't know, maybe you don't watch till the end of the video, I do have a Discord server if you're interested in checking that out. If the changes in my YouTube settings work, the link should be included in the description, and if it's not, you can check it out on my About page. So with that out of the way, let's get on with the review. So, as I've mentioned last week, and as far as I can tell quite a few other people have mentioned, there is a lot of hype, a lot of expectations for this fight, really just a lot of hoping that it won't be bad. And so far, the little bit of fighting that we got this chapter does seem to be a good sign. Jirota flips Masaki so hard into the ground, and so fast, that even Yamashita and Koga, who have the fist eye, can't see him do it. I don't know how the fuck that works. Like, is Jirota flipping people at light speed? That is, that's kind of absurd if they're not able to see him. And I mean, like, I would complain about this, but, I mean, so far, Jirota is kinda living up to his status as top 2 in Purgatory, at least in terms of rank. I just, like, they were able to see Agito and Lutien going at it in Formless, but they couldn't see Jirota do a flip. I guess that means Jirota is, like, absurdly fast, which is pretty insane. So I have made up my mind from last week. I am definitely going to say that Jirota is probably going to win this one, and it seems like a lot of you guys agree with that as well. The results of the poll from last week were pretty skewed in his favor. So I guess that's the guy we're putting our money on, and I'm not going to complain about that. I do hope that Jirota is going to get us our first legit our first legit Purgatory win. Depending on how much you have a problem with Falcon using poison, I guess it would be the second legit Purgatory win. I mean, at the very least, Falcon walked away from his match. So hopefully Jirota will be the second Purgatory fighter to walk away from his match and not have to be carried out in a stretcher or in buckets. So that's looking pretty good so far. He is very strong. And I do want to rectify something I said last week. I said I didn't expect much from Masaki, and that's kind of a mistake on my part. Over the last few weeks, I think, at the very least the one chapter where Ryan tears Alan in half, there were some people in the comments who were disagreeing with me, being disappointed because I was in the wrong to assume that Alan or any of these other fighters were going to be so strong. Now, I generally disagree with that because when the story and various characters basically go out of the way, they just go out of their fucking way to talk about how absolutely amazing these characters are, where Toyota's saying, oh yeah, I can't imagine any lineup more powerful than you guys. I can imagine quite a few other existing characters that are way stronger than these guys. And stuff about Yumigahama being as good as Kanao, and being like, oh yeah, there are at least 5 people in Purgatory stronger than a Fang. Yeah, well, he was the weakest Fang we've seen so far. Yes, I know he was in suboptimal conditions for his fighting style, or really his build in general. But whatever. I had made the mistake of just assuming that Masaki wasn't going to be that strong, and that's just kind of like a mistake on my part, because what am I basing that off of? The fact that Meguro wasn't that strong? I mean, he was pretty strong, but I don't think he was anywhere near top tier. So, like, Masaki could be a completely different story. Masaki could be, like, holy shit. He could be leagues above other characters that we're familiar with on the roster. He could be S tier for all we know. I don't think he will be, but I think I probably needed to wait a little bit to give some judgment towards him. And speaking of Masaki, we should probably talk about him a little bit, because we actually do get quite a decent amount of information about him this chapter. So we don't get any confirmation as to what exactly Masaki is. We don't get confirmation if he's a clone or if he's actually Megaro's brother. But we do see a bit of him in college, and he's basically the exact opposite of Megaro. He's like an actual nice, friendly, amiable person. He gets along with other people. He helps out fellow members of his college's judo club. All around, really cool guy. So now we're all wondering, what's the catch? Well, before the match starts, Masaki takes out like these earbuds that he has, gives them to Koga, and, just sort of leaves them with the rest of the Kengan fighters while he's fighting. And he changes his stance after doing so, and there's specific focus put on the headphones at the end of the chapter after Masaki has been thrown by Jiroda, or flipped, I guess. So now we have to wonder, what exactly is Masaki hearing through those headphones? Is it some sort of therapy thing that's supposed to keep him from losing his shit and killing someone? Is it, Hayami Sr. talking to him? I'm not sure. Apparently the kanji is too blurry to even decipher what it's supposed to be, which is probably intentional, because we're gonna find out what it's saying next week. But I am a little worried. Not necessarily in terms of like a writing thing, like I think it's gonna be a bad story decision if Masaki ends up being crazy like Megara was, but more so, I like Masaki, and he seems like a nice guy. He seems like a good person, and I don't want to see a good person turn into an insane murderer. Because Meguro is kind of tragic in the idea that he never had a chance to be a good person, because his brain was just fucked up from the moment he was born. Whereas Masaki does seem to have that chance, at least, as far as we can tell, so I'm hoping that things go well for him. Even if he loses. In fact, I think he maybe doesn't care too much about whether or not he loses, because he may know that his dad is a bad guy, so we'll see what happens, but I'm generally hoping that Masaki keeps the same sort of face throughout most of the fight. I hope he is not crazy. And I hope Jiroda's not crazy either, because I think we've had enough wacky faces for the tournament. Yeah, basically for the whole tournament thus far. We can have like one more, I guess, but I feel like it's kind of old. We've had a few too many psychos for this tournament. Can we have a few more relatively normal people? Can we at least get some people more in the vein of Okoya's psychopathy? Yeah. So, yeah, that's really all I have to say about this chapter. It was mostly, not mostly, it was like half Masaki flashback. No. It was like a third Masaki flashback, it was like a third them getting ready to fight, and then the last third of it was the start of the fight, and us being like, holy shit, Jiroda is really strong. And holy shit, Jiroda seems to be really strong so far. And he was basically doing stuff with no effort. So it is looking, I'm cautiously optimistic, but so far, it's looking like this fight is going to be a good one. So maybe Sandrovich is going to save this thing. I don't know. If this is good, and if the last 5 fights are really good as well, I'll be like, you know what? The first half or so was kind of rough, but I guess it was worth it for what we got in the second half. So, to reiterate, my predictions for the last 5 matchups are going to be, in no particular order, Labana versus Okoya, Dongcheng versus Nitoku, Okubo versus Tarashi, Oma versus Wang Feng, and Lalong versus Wakatsuki. At this point, I do find it kind of plausible that Purgatory is going to win the tournament. I'm even leaning in favor of it. It's going to feel kind of weird when they do, because, like, half of their wins were from either dying or being thrown out of the ring, or no, losing and then pulling their opponent out of the ring with them. Again, I'm not like a super huge fan of this rule where, oh, you win so hard that you lose, or alternatively, you lost so hard that you won. But it's whatever. I do have a feeling this fight is going to end by ring out, and it's going to be feeling like an actual legit kind of win via ring out, because I have a feeling Jirota is going to throw Masaki out of the ring. It would be really cool. You know that thing that happens like in anime, where someone gets grabbed and they get tossed or flipped, and then they land on their feet, not because they landed on their feet, but because the person who tossed them put them down on their feet. That is a really good flex for how strong a character is, so hopefully we'll see something like that with Jirota. But with that is all I have to say for this week's review. If you enjoyed, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you don't miss any of my uploads. I do Kengan Omega chapter reviews every week. If you enjoy other series such as Record of Ragnarok, Jujutsu Kaisen, and Black Clover, I do videos in those series as well, so if you're interested in those, you should definitely check out my channel. If you enjoy discussing Kengan Omega with other people, or you just enjoy the content I produce on this channel, once again, you should check out my Discord server. The link should be in the description. Otherwise, I have a link to it on my channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you around.